Hey, guys. So today, what we're going to be working on, this is a 2014 Jeep Wrangler JK. It's got the 3.6 Pentastar in it, and we got an oil leak. And so that right there, that cap is where your oil filter is. So that oil filter housing is also attached to uh, the cooler, and you can't really see it down in there right now, but there's signs of an oil leak right there. So what happens is the oil leaks down into the valley and then builds up enough, and then it starts leaking out the back, because it looks like it's leaking out all over the bell housing on the transmission. So this is a common problem for this engine. What we got to do is take off this intake, the upper intake and the lower intake, and that oil filter cooler housing mounts directly under the lower intake manifold. So as you can see, there's a bunch of stuff in the way that we have to remove to be able to get access to that. So I bought an upgraded part made by Dorman, and as you can see right there, so the OEM part is made out of some kind of plastic. So the stresses of getting so hot and then cooling down and going through those thermal cycles, you know, it starts to break down. So one of the things that some of the people that I've seen talk about in forums and stuff was these block out plugs. So on the plastic one, they're just like a plug that's, I don't know if it's fused in there, it's glued, but there's been some of them that they said that was a failure point and oil's just pouring out of that. But there's a little sign of oil up in that area. The other places that they said that, you know, you have coolant and oil that's going through this housing. So this area right in here start to get brittle and start to break down where these O-rings, these seals are. So this kit comes with all the pieces needed. I saw some of the kits didn't come with a new cooler. This one does. This also comes with all the seals and the O-rings that go onto the upper and lower manifold, as well as the ones that go on the housing itself to seal it up. So we're going to get started here. First, we're going to have to take off this intake tube coming from your air filter. You see all these hoses and the main wiring harness. You're also going to have to remove all the wiring and stuff. So I already had the cover plate that goes over top of the engine. I've had that off for a while. It just seems like it traps more heat in there, so I haven't had that on there for several years. But another thing that's been on this Jeep has been the oil pressure sensor, which has been giving me a check engine code for, I think it's been about 5 or 6 years. But because it also attaches to this housing on the end here, it never really seemed to affect the way it ran performance. But if you looked at the oil pressure, it would fluctuate up and down drastically, so it wasn't operating properly, not telling you the right, but other than that, it seemed to run fine. Everything worked fine. So I got that part as well. It's also made by Dorman. So while we have that out, we're going to change that out, and hopefully that takes care of that problem. All right, so some of the things that we're going to need: 10 millimeter, 8 millimeter. We're also going to need an external torque, an E8, to remove the factory housing off of the top of the engine block. Other than that, I think that's about it. Just I saw some videos, some other people doing this. Didn't look like it was that difficult. It was a lot of things to take off, but nothing seemed like it was too tough to get off. Back in the back here, there's a couple bolts that are kind of hard to get to. Up underneath that cowl window area up in there, but it didn't look like it was going to be too difficult. Some of the stuff doesn't have to be disconnected all the way. You are going to have to remove all the harness that plugs into the injectors and coil. The fuel line itself, they said that you could leave it hooked up and just roll it back out of the way. So, well, we're going to get started. All right, I loosened up these clamps here with the screwdriver. So you got a connector here. I think that's for your air temperature sensor. So we'll need to disconnect that clip there. Just got to push in on the tab, and then all right, once you get that, just set that out of the way. Gonna move that out of the way. You can see there's some more electrical connectors there. Going to the throttle body. All right, once you get that one out of there, you gotta slide that red little clip back. You also gotta, right in here, there's a little zip tie connecting it through there. And then just get this all loose and out of your way. This little prime. Oh, fucking snapped off. Oh, I have to replace that. Let's see, there's a get it in behind there, pull that out, and there's another one right over here. Harness is all loose on the way. You can see this this like little split loom around your wiring harness is just crumbling apart. So I'm gonna have to watch that clean up all that pieces and stuff and make sure that we don't have anything going down into our intake. Also disconnected this one here. Next we got a couple hoses that we need to break loose. You just kind of pry on those a little bit, break on them, and then we can slide them off. All right, get those two hoses loose, and then right here, pull them out of it. Also disconnected this hose going to air filter. Also need to disconnect these couple nuts in here. Disconnect that bracket. All right, so these nuts over here on the side holding the bracket into the intake are 10 millimeter. So get those loosened up and set them to the side. All right, I got those two, and then these two off. Like I said, they were 10 millimeter. So on the bottom side of that bracket, underneath the throttle body, we got some bolts in there that are 10 millimeter. Another extension for that one. All right, we're gonna, already broke these loose. They're an 8 millimeter. There's 3 right here. And then 1, 2. I gotta look to see if there's another one in the back there. I'm gonna finish taking these out. Got these 3 loose. Just pulled them up out of the way. I'm gonna do the same with these. These are all way loose. So right back in there is the last bolt. Got it loosened up, but it's tucked in behind there. I knew there was another one in the back here. So I'm going to finish taking that out, and then we'll start working on getting this plug apart. It's being kind of stubborn. Also, there was another hose right there that was connected. I got it disconnected and pulled up out of the way. And then need to try to loosen up that bracket that's in the back here that we took those nuts off of. And there's a couple of nuts down below just to loosen that up, to give us a little bit more wiggle room to get that pulled out of there. Back in there, get that bolt loose now. But like I was saying, right in here, those are kind of holding me up. Took the bracket off the front. That was easy to get to though, because I have this onboard air mounted. I don't have as much room to reach down in there. I think it's a 13 millimeter nut, and you can even see it from here, but yeah, it's tucked down in there. You can kind of see it there, and it's tough to get your hand down in there. But I think if I loosen that up, that'll give me a little bit more room to wiggle that thing loose and get it out of there. So right in there's a couple of bolts that I'm going to need to take down, and they're connected to that wiring harness. Alright, so I got those two bolts out, and then if you look back here, there's two nuts that are also connected to that bracket. That'll let all that move out of the way. So I'm going to finish working on getting these out of there. 10 millimeter. So I got it a little loose and pulled up from that bracket. Now I'm able to pull the upper intake off. I'm going to get some towels and try to clean that up. And stuff some clean towels down inside there Try to keep some debris and stuff from getting down in there. All right, so I want to get this, give me some more room. So once you get that outer sleeve slid this way, then it just slides right apart. Now we're gonna start working on I already got the plugs to the coil packs off. Now I gotta get down in to each one of the injector plugs and disconnect them. I got these pick tools to try to pull up on that little red clip, and then be able to push in the tab to release it and pull them up out of the way. So I was able to pull up on those red clips that like kind of lock it in with that curved pick. I got all three on the driver's side. And pulled up and out of the way, and then you just got to push down on the tab now. To get it to release. Alright, so I got all three of the injectors on this side off. The fun part's going to be doing the other side. As you can see, kind of hard to get to. So because we're leaving the fuel rail and everything connected to the lower intake, we got to get these disconnected so that we can just leave this connection hooked up and just kind of roll it out of the way, just to be able to get underneath it to where the oil filter cooler housing is. Alright, so I got the injector off the passenger side and the coil pack off that side. Just the front one. The next two, I don't know. It's just, they're pretty much buried underneath this bracket right here. So I don't know if I can remove that. I got the bolts loosened up where the heater hose, the hard pipe was bolted to that, and I got some movement there, but you can't hardly even see them, let alone get your hand down in there. So I'm going to continue to work on that, and then like I said, the bolts on top here, they're all pretty accessible. They're not too bad. So keep working on that. One of the things, like I was talking about earlier, like this split loom, there's a lot of debris down in there. I'm going to get a shop vac and suck some of that stuff up out of there. Way it's not right there at the edge whenever I take that lower intake off. All right, I've already disconnected all the coil packs, and I vacuumed up some of the debris along the side there where that plastic was splitting, coming off. bolts here are 8mm. The next ones, they look like they're all pretty easy to get to. That bracket right there, there's one right on the other side of that, and then one in the back. This side over here, they were all easy to get to. I got all those loosened up already. So I got 2 more, and we'll be able to pull this thing up out of there. Alright, so I got the lower intake disconnected, but there's where the wiring harness is still has one of those clips. I gotta pop out, and then I can get it the rest of the way out. I got some paper towels down in those ports to try to keep the debris. There's a good bit still around the sides. Hopefully nothing fell down in there. We'll get the vacuum out again once I get this pulled out of the way. This is basically flip that over and lay it over here by the air compressor and brake booster, brake reservoir. Just lay it out of the way. Yeah, it was a bitch to get to some of those, especially on this side here, getting all those clips unhooked. And we've got a good bit of cleanup to do here. We're ready to move on. All right. Now we got the lower intake manifold out of the way. Did a little bit more vacuuming. I was able to get that one plug off. The other one, you can't access it. It's on the bottom side. So I got to disconnect the cooler housing and then try to disconnect it. I'm going to try to clamp off that coolant line so that we don't lose too much coolant there pouring out. Just some vice grip. So I'm going to attempt anyways. And then I could disconnect that. This is where you need that E8, the external Torx bit, to get these bolts out. Let's see, right down there. So that's the next step. So there it is. Got the old one out. Not sure where it was leaking, but make sure all the seals didn't get left behind. And you can see there's a lot of shit down in there in the valley. There's a fucking mud dauber. I don't know how the fuck it gets down in there, but I'm gonna go ahead and clean all that up. Yeah, and when I put that oil pressure sensor back on, I'm going to make sure that the tab for disconnecting that connector is up so that you can reach it without having to unbolt it and start to remove it, to be able to flip it upside down to reach it. But, so right there, I pinched off with some vice grips. It'll probably helped a little. I don't know that it pinched it off 100%, but lot of fluid down in there. I got to get that all cleaned up. But yeah, what a bitch. A lot of the stuff was just tough to access. That was the hardest part. None of the bolts were, they're all small bolts, low torque on them. Some of the connectors are hard to get. I don't know why. I don't know. I guess I thought I needed to, but the coils on the passenger side didn't have to be removed. The ones on the injectors did. But and then to be able to roll that back the way I did, you had to remove them on this side. But this side you didn't have to. Which the one that I had the most trouble with was the one underneath that bracket. So that was all for nothing. You could skip that step. Alright, so now I got that sucked out of there best I could. Cleaned up the surface where the seals are on the bottom of the lower intake manifold. There's still a little bit of fluid down in there. I can try to get out and wipe down with a towel. But so on this old one, the only thing I have to take off, because the kit came with everything, came with new bolts, I do have to take this sensor off here. I bought a new oil pressure sensor, so because it's been giving me a check engine code for quite a while, so went ahead and changed that out so I don't have to take that one off. I believe this one here is a 19 millimeter, and I'll have to swap that out onto the new one.
Put this on, that's it.
No, we just need change out those seals. Got the new one back in there. I ended up changing out both sensors because when I was taking the coolant temperature sensor off, it broke the plastic housing on the connector. So I got it all tight down there. 9 foot-pounds. Alright. Putting the new gasket seals on. I got the cold packs already plugged in on this side. I broke that one little tab on the one in the middle. I don't know how it broke. I didn't pry on it or nothing. It just fucking came off. But hopefully that doesn't come loose. I got that all in there, cleaned up. All the mating surface is clean. Pull those rags out of there, and then we'll flip this around. And then I got a electrical connector in the back, a couple tabs to secure it, and just wiggle it into place and get everything to line up. Alright, so we just torqued everything down. We got the coil packs and the injectors plugged back in on both sides. Plugged in the wiring harness and secured it to the back of the. Also hooked up this hose and tubing that comes off the back of the driver's side head. I think it's just pulls of a vacuum. think this hose connects over into the air box for the air filter. So yeah, we're getting there. Going back together a lot easier. Next we just got to change out these seals, these gaskets on top of here, get that all wiped down and clean, and then change those out. And then we'll be ready to put on the next piece, the upper intake. All right, just about got everything hooked back up. I can do the final torque on these, holding the upper intake. Get our brackets back on. Got a few things here, a couple more things to plug in. This goes up into the intake tube. This plugs in right here into the throttle body.
What is it, like a mass airflow or something? The other one?
I think it's air temperature.
Oh.
It's in the... I cut this zip tie off whenever so I just need to zip tie that back on there. And then the air filter box and tube, and do the final torque, and we're done.